ready for podcast?
I love it.
You ready for the Vetted podcast?
The one, the only.
That's right. That's right. I think this guy over here has an introduction ready to roll.
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
let's do it.
no, absolutely. So, Alex, thank you so much for being on today. We are super thrilled to have you. You were one of the original, like when we were planning this out, you were one of the original people that were like, we have to have her on. So it's
Thank
finally,
you.
finally glad that we got to do this.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
You have quite a history at Ellisville, and you've been there since 2009, we believe.
Yep.
So it says on your
That's true.
website bio.
That's true.
It says on your wiki page.
And so
You Googled me.
we did Google you. We've known you for a long time. I'm really happy to talk to you today. But what do you think it's important to what out of your bio is the most important to you?
Oh, wow. Probably my longevity. I've been there a really long time. And when I started there, I was only 17. When I started working at EVH, actually Dr. Whitehead and I, our first week at EVH was the same week.
Was it really?
It was. Yeah.
Okay,
And
I didn't know that.
yeah, we became really fast friends. I mean, I was in high school, so I worked there part-time. And then when I was in college, I worked there full-time. I left for a couple years, did some management opportunity elsewhere. And then I came back as practice manager, and it's always felt like home. It's really crazy because I never thought like my career would be where I had my first part-time job. But everyone there is so special, and I think there's a lot to be said about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that's exciting. So tell us about your family a little bit before you
my
get started.
family. Wow. My grandmother is actually the previous hospital manager. So that's how I started working there in high school. I have 3 younger brothers. I am married. My husband is in beverage sales. I have a 4-year-old daughter. Her name is Lily. And I have a whole horde of rescue animals that get brought to the hospital and have nowhere else to go. So I bring them home.
That's not unlike anyone else. Not
Yeah.
unlike anybody
I know.
else there.
It's
So,
hard not to. I don't know anyone in the industry who doesn't collect all the sad little forlorn Sarah McLachlan APA commercial creatures.
That's the saddest commercial.
It
on
really
television,
is.
by the way, too. It's like it ruins the whole
It does.
whatever you're watching.
The whole vibe.
Yeah, it's terrible. Everyone's like, turn it off.
Exactly.
Yeah, get it off the television. So awesome. Well, again, yeah, thanks for coming today. And I think really what we wanted to highlight, you're the first practice manager we've had on here.
No
and
way.
So I think the goal for today is to talk about the ins and outs of being a practice manager and everything that comes with.
Awesome.
So I guess the first question to get into that, why did you start working at the clinic? Was veterinary medicine always the vision for you to work in that in some capacity, or what was that vision?
Yeah, I'm actually probably one of the anomalies in the industry that I do love animals and I do care so deeply for animals, but I genuinely love people. I love working with people. I love supporting people. I love helping people. When I was younger, I had so many different things that I thought I'd be doing with my life. I really wanted to be a nurse, but life circumstances happened and that just wasn't in the cards. And so I grew up and I lived on the street that the hospital's located at. Okay. So I started working there because I could walk and it was really close and it was easy. And like I said, my grandmother was the hospital manager there at the time. And so they were really flexible to my school hours. Plus, who doesn't want somebody that's going to work every single Saturday? Okay. But I fell in love with the clients. And I think there's something really amazing in vet med that yes, you are supportive of the animals, and yes, that is their care, but you're caring for someone and something that is so important to these people. You're caring for their best friends, you're caring for their companions, you're caring for their support, and so I love being in the human side of it. I love connecting with the owners. I love, hearing their stories, their journeys. I probably know way too much about a lot of our clients. Like they'll walk in and I'm like, oh, how was, your grandma's procedure? How's your daughter doing? All those fun things. So I definitely love that side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you started and you made the transition from, what was your first role at the practice and how did that grow?
I was a receptionist first, and then I transitioned into like a lead receptionist, front office manager, and then I transitioned into the full practice manager.
Gotcha. So what was the time period of that switch?
Oh, let's see. I was a receptionist for 4 years, and then I was like a front office manager for 7 months, and then full practice manager since 2015.
Since 2015?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll be 10 years this year.
Yeah. How'd you get that promotion?
our previous hospital manager walked out. So
Which was your grandmother?
Yes.
Okay.
It was a very abrupt retirement. But I think me just kind of being thrown into the role was, I'm a quick learner. I think fast on my feet, and I'm like, yeah, no, we can absolutely handle any situation. So I think kind of being thrown into it was the best transition I could have ever had. Just because for me, it was, okay, I don't have a choice. Like, we're doing this. We're going all in. We are fully committed. Yeah, I left the office at 3 p.m. on a Thursday as the front office manager, and I walked in at 7 a.m. on Friday as the practice manager.
When was that?
That was in October of 2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pre Zach owning the practice.
Pre-Zach.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then he took over ownership in September 2019. So yeah.
Yeah.
It
That's
was
awesome.
It was a big shift, but it was awesome. Definitely not every water we walked through was smooth. Lots of like learning curves there. But previous owner, Dr. Smith, he was super supportive, offered a lot of guidance. And obviously, working with Dr. Whitehead and, we had worked together for so long at that point, he was definitely like a good shoulder to lean on in those trying times. But, it was fun, lots of memories, that's for sure. But yeah.
So walking out of the clinic one day and then walking back in as everyone's boss. What was that like?
I think the hardest part about it was the previous office manager was my grandmother, yes. So a lot of people thought that I was given that because she was my grandma. I think that was really hard. I also think another really challenging aspect was my age. I was only 24.
Okay.
But I definitely feel like, physically and mentally, I operate a lot older than I am. I don't really like to talk to my age to a lot of people because I feel like I want you to get to know me before you know the number associated with me. I think that was really challenging because at the time, a lot of our staff was older. But I think, definitely as every hospital knows, like, staffing can be a big challenge. So definitely there were trials and tribulations, and there were a lot of people who really, wanted to push the boundaries. But I had to grow like a spine really quick. And I'm definitely one of those people, like, I will be very direct. I will always be positive, but I had to learn really quickly how to have those difficult conversations with people. And I think that was definitely the hardest part for me because I want to be supportive all the time and I want to be positive all the time. And, when you're 24, you want everyone to like you and you want to be friends with everybody, but you have to quickly learn that that's not the case.
Absolutely. How did you overcome that? Like, how did you go in and say, hey, this is a super uncomfortable conversation that I have never had before with somebody?
Yeah.
And how did you
I mean, I'm really
do that?
transparent. I think the best thing you can be in the world is vulnerable. I would walk in, I would be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to be honest. This is the first time I'm having to have a tough conversation. So if I mess this up, please tell me. But I don't want to have these difficult conversations with you. I don't want to have to be the bad guy. I want all of us to be able to show up. I want all of us to be able to be successful. And at the end of the day, like, we are compensated to do these tasks. So if we could please just do them with grace, if we could please be courteous, if we could please be kind, that would make everyone's lives a lot easier. And then I don't have to be a person I don't want to be.
And you did that from day one.
I still have those conversations. Like, I think being vulnerable and honest about, like, I don't want to be a bad guy. Like, at the end of the day, I get I am your boss, but I'm here to support all of you. Whether that means you continue through vet med or whether that means you decide you want to do something else in this life, I will always support you because I appreciate who you are as a person. And I have helped employees find other jobs because it's not what gives them joy. And yes, that is hard for me. But at the end of the day, like, everybody gets one shot at life. Like, you need to be happy. So,
Amen.
yeah, I know. I know that's probably a really unconventional outlook. Like, you don't want to help employees find other roles, but everyone wants to be happy.
Everybody does.
No, some of the best companies recognize that if you're not happy here, let's find where you are happy.
Exactly.
So, and it goes out, and if you want to be kind and joy and full and all those kinds of things, that spreads that way.
Yeah.
That's important. All right. Practice managers.
Yeah.
It's like, what is that, right?
Many hats.
Yeah. And in the veterinary industry, I mean, there is CVPM, right? mean, there's certified veterinary practice
Yeah.
manager. You can get that out there. But I'd say that there's less of those in the country than any other position, right? That have that understand the practice management. So your grandmother, practice manager, did she have those things? Did she like what was her training? Like did she have a manual she left you behind? Was it was just blank slate?
I think it was definitely like a generational thing. Her generation was very much like I learned a lot of wonderful things from her. Let me back up. I learned a lot of wonderful things, but I also learned a lot of like leadership skills and life values of, unfortunately, like how not to lead people. I definitely think there's a whole generation that their mentality was you lead by fear. You lead through strict discipline, and that was never a person that I wanted to be. Obviously, there are policies, there's structure, there's discipline that's necessary, but I like to lead by growing people. I want to lead by supporting people, and I think it took a lot of years of not from the vet hospital, but just in all walks of life, from certain levels of like professional trauma that shaped me into the leader I wanted to be, if that makes sense.
Well, you've learned.
Yeah,
experience.
you learn and you grow, and there are definitely moments in my life that have shaped me to be, like, oh, I remember somebody having a conversation like this and how it made me feel, and I don't ever want to make anybody feel that way. And I know, through the ups and downs of the many facets of veterinary medicine, from, recession to the pandemic and literally living through vet med, through all of those different phases, you have to grow with your team, and you have to learn about, their personalities and their learning styles and how they receive constructive criticism. And it's an ever changing, ever evolving animal of its own.
You started in the recession.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got hired in
I got hired in
the recession.
during the recession.
17-year-old,
Yep.
cheaper labor.
Exactly. Let's find the most affordable employee. Oh, wait, she's a relative. We can give her just a little less. Exactly.
And she lives down the street.
And she lives down the street. She doesn't even drive yet. So
checks the boxes.
exactly.
Here. No, I think that's an interesting point about practice management, is that so many practice owners want a practice manager. But it's like you can't just hire a practice manager.
No. I think the best thing to do if a practice doesn't have a practice manager is to evolve someone that's already in your practice, someone that's already committed to your business, someone that's already committed to your culture. Because you're just growing their skills, and they are already a part of, your practice family. I think that's the best thing. I mean, I'm not saying people can't hire in from the outside, but I think it's so much more beneficial when you have somebody who understands who you are as a business and who you are as, as veterinarians, as technicians, as client care representatives, because then they're just fine-tuning their skills. They're not having to, slide into the culture, slide into the team. And it helps. I think it can be a blessing and a curse when they're already a part of the team. But if, the long-term intention is for them to grow, then that's super beneficial.
Good.
I think anybody that doesn't have a practice manager aspires to have one. I think there's so many different definitions of what a practice manager does or could do or should be. What do you think, in your opinion, what's the most important attributes of a practice manager, and what do they bring a practice to be successful?
Absolutely. I mean, I think for me, it's definitely a huge balance of having somebody who is effective with the doctors, someone who is effective with the staff, effective with the clients. Definitely every single day I'm there, I'm doing different things. It can be inventory management. It can be, paperwork, bills, payroll, supply ordering, running errands, like very simple things. But I think at the end of the day, it's somebody who is an advocate for everyone internally in the hospital with the practice owners, but also somebody who's always going to advocate for the clients. When people ask me like what I do, I'm like, I don't know. What do I not do? I do many things. But at the end of the day, like I try to look globally from like all perspectives. So if, a team member is frustrated with a certain situation, trying to put myself in their shoes and see, how can we develop these protocols? How can we grow? How can we change so that these frustrations don't happen? Or if a client is frustrated, trying to put myself in their shoes and say, okay, I understand why they're frustrated. How can we grow our team to explain the value of what we do so that, they aren't frustrated about how much money they're spending, but then they see the value of who we are. It's ever changing. It's something different every day. Yesterday we were having a team lunch and picking out samples for our new practice. And then today I was answering emails on my way here and making phone calls. And, Thursday could be totally different.
Well, it does have practice in the name. Like it's a practice, like
it's a whole practice.
Every day.
Every
it's
day.
something new. You're practicing and learning.
Every single day.
And you're managing that.
Exactly.
It's in the name.
It is. It's exactly what we're doing.
What do you mean, what does she do? It's in the name.
It's in the name, yeah.
I practice managing every day.
It's true though.
It is.
You said it earlier. You don't always know.
I don't.
And you're never gonna know.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, hey, I'm trying this for the first time.
Yeah.
Let's see how this goes. I'm trying my best.
Some days I could be answering phones. A couple times I've been pulled in to hold something for surgery. It's all over the place.
Do you have an ideal week though? Like, certain things need to happen, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Like you break it out that way. You do have that though. It's like I do accomplish.
I have my daily tasks. I'm a notorious list maker. I cannot function without my handwritten little notebook and handwritten little list, which is so archaic. But every single day I sit down and I make my to-do list. And, if I could go back and tell baby practice manager Alex, your to-do list does not have to be done every single day. Mm-hmm. I remember I would sit there and work through my lunch and stay late and be I have to check everything off this list. And that is such an unrealistic expectation. So, now it's I got, 10 out of the 15 things done. We'll do the other 5 tomorrow. My list is never done, but stuff is getting marked off.
Well, especially if things come up.
Exactly.
During the day that you have to attend to as the manager to manage the practice.
Yeah, absolutely.
The list is going to go off to the side and it can wait.
Yeah.
It can wait.
And there are things that get prioritized. And, I think I'm so grateful to have so many supportive people in our practice. We have a lead CSR who is amazing. We have a lead technician who is absolutely incredible. And to have those supportive people in the departments of our practice, it really allows me to step back and focus on the bigger picture items. And definitely having those roles I'm very type A, was a very hard thing for me to be go ahead, that's fine, you can do it. But they really have shown me that they are so supportive and they are so gifted at what they do. And having people like that you can hand stuff off to and delegate and trust is essential. I couldn't live without them.
What was it like letting go of some of those things?
Oh my gosh, it was awful. I'm still I'm a notorious, I am not a micromanager, but I'm always I'll double check that if you want me to. If you want me to, I can look at it. No, but they're awesome. I've worked with the two of them for a very long time, and so they know my personality and they know who I am. And they're I think sometimes they will ask me for help just because they know it makes me feel good. But yeah, no, they're amazing.
That's awesome. To-do lists.
Yeah,
I want to go back to that. What do you think a lot of times? What tasks fall to a practice manager that shouldn't?
Ooh.
Or that should stay in a different department?
Yeah. I definitely think one thing that probably a lot of practice managers get on their workload every single day that they could delegate is client frustration. Frustrated client, phone calls, things like that. Definitely if a client has expressed a grievance about, their invoice or a circumstance, I always want to talk to you, but I think having a CSR who feels empowered to have those difficult conversations, who feels confident in them, is one of the best assets you can have for your practice. Somebody who doesn't shy away from somebody who's really gruff and really angry. Because I know for me, prior to having somebody who was confident in those conversations, I could talk to upset clients 5 to 20 times a week. Now I maybe get 1 to 2 a week. And it's usually just, somebody who wants to go as high as they can. Mm-hmm. And I also think having a practice owner who has instilled trust in a practice manager is huge. Because a lot of times they'll be like, well, I want to talk to your owner. And he's like, I don't know what you think I'm going to do. You should talk to Alex. Which for me, I always laugh. And I'm so grateful for, because he really is so trusting, and he puts a lot of faith in who I am and what I do, which it's invaluable.
How do those calls end typically?
Ooh, I love them. I literally had one yesterday, and I'm one of those people, like, the angrier you get, the happier I am. I try to remain, like, as positive as possible, because there's no reason in getting frustrated. I hear your upset. I hear your frustration. But at the end of the day, I'm here to support you. And that is what I will say to them. You know, my job is to be your advocate. So please get as angry as you need to. But there are also times where they will get so frustrated that I have said to clients, you know, I understand your frustration, but this conversation is not productive. So why don't we end this phone call and we can reconnect at another time when, you know, tempers are leveled and no one is upset. And then typically they're completely flabbergasted. They're like, oh, you're going to hang up? Oh, absolutely. Yes, I am. Thank you so much for your time. I'll call you tomorrow at 9. But, you know, I think it's just advocating and explaining the value. So this woman who I spoke with yesterday, she was upset about her separate charges, and they had come in for a technician appointment and we're getting a couple vaccines and some blood work. And she's like, I don't understand why I had to pay for a technician appointment. I was like, well, you and your pet did spend 20 minutes with one of our licensed registered technicians who do go to school for this training, and what they do is beyond anything I could do. And it does take 2 or 3 of them to manage your pet since they are a little nervous. So I think just explaining in extreme detail the whole premise of every single thing that we do. I think a lot of clients get frustrated because they don't understand. They just see items and numbers. They don't understand everything that goes into that. And I feel like in vet med, we forget that a lot. We just see it as, oh, we're entering charges and it's $300, check them, send them out. But I know, if I got a $300 bill for my daughter, I wouldn't understand any of it. So taking the time, like, explain, slow down.
So maybe those calls turn into opportunities for training.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one thing we're really fortunate in, all of our calls are recorded. So it's really great to, I try to listen to those randomly throughout the week if I have time, just because, it's a great learning opportunity. A lot of times when you're on the phone, they don't realize, the things they're saying, and to revisit that and be like, here's what we could have said. I understand, why the response was this, but if we had taken an extra 2 minutes, we could have provided a lot more understanding.
I love what you said. It's that, hey, let's have a good conversation, basically, what you're telling the person on the phone.
Yeah.
I understand you're upset, but let's all be cool and chill. If you're not, call me back when you are.
Absolutely.
Because then we can be productive.
Absolutely. I'm an over communicator. Like, people don't know what they don't know. So I'm going to give you every detail that I can.
You just said what your job is as a practice manager. It's over communicating.
I am an over communicator.
That's what your job is, though.
It is.
Because to this day, like Kale said, you're still saying that thing today. Yeah. Yeah, you're talking about being joy and, being kind and all those things. You got to say that all the time.
Yeah.
You can't assume that it's just in there and running.
Oh, no. And I'm the first to admit, not every day for me is a good day, but I'm going to do and I will admit, I'm like, you guys, I'm a little off today. So if we have somebody really grumpy, ask them if I can call them tomorrow. But I think just being vulnerable, being authentic, we're all out here doing the best we can.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, as no one wants to deal with a upset client, like that's just not a fun part of your day.
Yeah.
But how did you get your team to be able to take those calls without having to bother you? Because that's just not something that a lot of people want to deal with or feel confident to deal with. So how did you get your people to be able to do that?
I definitely think a lot of patience and a lot of training. Anytime, someone will come to me and say, hey, this client's really upset. They're on line 1. Here's what they're upset about. I would say, great. What I'm going to do is we're going to go in the office. I'm going to close the door and we're going to listen to I would love you to listen to this conversation on speakerphone so that in the future, if you ever cross this bridge, you feel more empowered to have that conversation yourself. I definitely have some CSRs who are not confident in that aspect. I have some team members who are not confident, and I have others who love to have those difficult conversations. I think a huge part is, taking everyone's individual skills and maximizing those skills. Some people love to work on the computer, some people don't. Some people love to do inventory, some people don't. So I think definitely maximizing the assets of what your team brings to the table. And I have one amazing CSR who loves to have difficult conversations just like me. And when we would take those on speakerphone in the office, she's like, oh my gosh, I love this. I'm learning so much. And I'm like, great, that's the whole point. That's the intention. We're all here to learn. We're all here to grow. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
I love that. Is there a level of permissions where you guys have said like, hey, you're able to do X, Y, and Z until it gets to this level, and then I need to know about it?
Absolutely.
So what do those look like?
I mean, obviously during COVID, a lot of things changed. We had to implement like a no harassment policy during COVID because a lot of pet owners got really, really angry and really frustrated, and to a point where it was unacceptably disrespectful.
Okay.
Like if they start yelling, if they use any profanity, if they threaten, any nature of that, like respectfully, we've told our team, I do not care if you just hang up on them without saying anything. You need to escalate that above, because at the end of the day, like, yes, you are here to support. Yes, you are here to provide customer service. You are not here to be berated and abused. That is not your job. That is not my job, but it is my job to keep you all safe and keep you all respected. And they are so amazing about passing those up the chain.
Well,
and I love
the client is king until they become a tyrant.
Exactly. I like that.
Yeah.
Throw that on a t-shirt.
I think unfortunately that was a lot of clinics during COVID.
It
had
was.
the same sentiment.
It is.
And so I think it's really awesome that you guys, and I knew the answer because we talked about this all the time, but I love the fact that you guys empowered everybody to be like, hey, don't take that from somebody.
Yeah.
Just because they're having a bad day doesn't mean that they get to put that on.
It's true, but I also think it was really hard because there's so many people in vet med that were trained and built on the premise of the client is always right. Oh, that makes my eye twitch. And I understand that perspective to an extent, but that doesn't mean that they're allowed to be abusive.
Mm-hmm.
The client can be right, but they can also be wrong in how they're approaching it.
Well, they should. We're there to serve the client.
Correct.
That's what we're there to do.
Mm-hmm.
But doesn't mean we're there to take abuse.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I think vet med as a whole, unfortunately, does get a lot of abuse, which is really hard to even like say and to understand. Which I do understand. It is an environment where emotions are high. It is an environment where, people are upset, their pets are sick. But I also think educating the team to like, it is very hard to get into our day to day. Educating the team to put yourselves in the client's shoes. Like if that was your child, if that was your pet, you would feel the same. And a lot of people lash out from an emotional perspective. So I think the calmer you are, the more patient you are, the easier everything gets.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, and it's great that you guys have been able to limit that over time as well,
Yeah.
to where you're not having to deal with that very often.
Yeah, thankfully.
Wow, we went a long ways. So the original question, what's something every practice manager, might get put on their plate but shouldn't? Is there anything else?
Let me think. I think if you can delegate things like ordering, so I'm not at the front desk seeing what food goes in and out all day. Mm-hmm. I have a CSR who does our food ordering because she's at the front desk. She sees everything that goes in and out. We have our head technician who manages all of our pharmaceuticals. She's back there counting and prescribing and working with the doctors all day. It totally makes sense that she's the one who's constantly in those zones of the practice, that she does that ordering. And, I also think, let me see, there's a lot. I mean, I think it's about empowering your team and also understanding their skills, because I have one CSR who loves to, work in Canva and make stuff for social media. By all means. So we have a shared Canva account. She makes stuff for certain holidays and events. And I love that because it gives her joy to do those things, but it also checks something off of my to-do list when it comes to marketing and things like that. So I think just getting to know your team and what brings them joy on the daily basis, because, I might not love doing this, but it's part of what I need to do. And so in just having those conversations and getting to know them, it can actually take a lot off of what we are expected to do on the regular. Yeah.
Perfect. So since you've been there since pretty much pretty much
Forever.
Yeah. You've probably seen the culture ebb and flow of different things. And so talk about how important it is, in your opinion, to have a culture that works, and maybe relate that back to cultures that you've seen that may not have been super positive.
I mean, if the culture doesn't work, the hospital will never work. Truthfully, when I was there, when I was much younger, the culture was, very much led by fear. Truthfully, it felt very toxic at times. It was, I would get the Sunday scaries where I didn't want to go in on Mondays sometimes. And I think, keeping everyone level-headed, trying to keep everyone on the same page is like the best thing we can do. I also, positive culture, it has to exist. We got to a point where the culture was so bad that, everyone had anxiety, everyone was stressed, nobody wanted to be there. And I think it's because we were hiring a lot of our staff based off skill, not personality. And so when Zach came over in ownership, we did like a full reset with how the culture felt, because we had worked in a negative culture for so long together. I can train anybody to do any skill. I can't train you to be a good person. I think what you bring to the table as who you are is so much more important than anything that is teachable. And ever since we made that shift, it is such a happy place to be. It's such a fun place to be. And I'm not saying every day is a good day, but at the end of the day, our team thoroughly enjoys spending time with each other. And I think that's really important.
You can feel it when you walk in to your practice.
It's a little feral, but it's fun.
No, I don't know that I would have said that. But having walked in several practices from a very objective point of view, when you walk into your practice, you walk around the back or whatever. I mean, everybody's having a good time. It seems like it gives the impression that people are happy and want to be there.
No, we are. We have fun.
Yeah. And so I think there are some practices you walk in and it's like you can tell as a client or as somebody sitting in the waiting room, you can observe how people interact and how they talk and how they, perceive each other. And so,
Sorry.
no. And so I've always felt when I walk into your practice that I feel very welcome.
Thank you. We truly love spending time with each other. Yes, we are with each other all the time for work, but we also make choices to spend time with each other. Dr. Whitehead has a pool, so once a summer we'll do like a fun pool party. We have a lot of babies being born in the hospital this year, so we're doing fun baby showers and birthday parties, and everybody at the end of the day enjoys being around each other, which I appreciate.
It's good.
Yeah, it is.
It's interesting. Culture is a buzzword.
It is.
Core values, buzz, 2 words. And if you look at, people think that that's all they needed to get to be successful. Mm-hmm. Do you think that could have happened in the prior ownership?
No, I don't want to say that, but I don't. I think it's a generational thing. Mm-hmm. I definitely, I'm getting to the point now where I feel like the old person in the practice. I got to keep up with the youth.
So
I have to Google words. I don't know what these things mean anymore.
You know who Chuck Berry is?
Yes.
Oh, okay, never mind. Dr. Stroop. Do you know Dr. Stroop?
Yes.
She was like, I don't know who that is. Oh, sorry. Chuck Berry, not the doctor, but Chuck Berry, the musician.
Yeah.
Okay, so she didn't know
He's
that.
from St. Louis.
Yeah, she didn't know that
I
joke.
don't know who that is either.
Yeah, okay, that's it.
Kale.
All right, you're from St. Louis. Never mind. Mine didn't work for you. I was gonna say, see, you're young. You don't know who that is.
Yeah. No, I definitely think it is a generational thing, not in a negative way, but I think, from an older perspective, it's your job to be here. It's, you get paid to be here, and that's all it is. When that's not the case anymore, people want to prioritize mental health. People want work-life balance. People want it to be more than just something they're compensated to do. They want it to be fun. They want to have joy when they come to work. They're not just showing up for a paycheck anymore. They're showing up for, the friendships. They're showing up for the fun. And at the end of the day, vet med's hard. It is emotionally taxing. There's a lot of mental fatigue that comes with that. So, in a leadership role, whether you're a practice manager, whether you're a practice owner, prioritizing your staff's well-being and mental health has to be the top priority when it comes to running a business. That's the only way you'll ever be successful, because the team is the foundation of who you are and what you do. Yes, the clients are. Yes, the patients are. But without the team, you don't have clients and patients. So we work really hard at that.
It's kind of hard to look at because when Dr. Whitehead bought, COVID happens.
Yeah.
And so you don't really get to take a look at pre Dr. Whitehead as an owner and culture
Yeah.
and post, but you kind of do.
Yeah.
What do you? I mean, is it a new world?
It is. It is. We were very fortunate during COVID that we lived in a little bubble, and we actually grew our team during COVID. We didn't lose clients. We didn't lose staff. But I have to commend him for being a baby owner during COVID because that was hard. I remember him and I having late night phone calls and planning, okay, we have team A, we have team B. If someone gets sick, we're doing, we can only shut down team A. We can still run on team B. We're going to cut our hours. We're going to close for lunch. We're going to do curbside. We had every plan for every possible scenario except for having to grow our team and grow our business by 32%. None of that was the plan, which was the best thing to happen. But I remember it was a lot. And, we tried to do a lot during COVID that we still implement to this day. We provide, snacks and drinks and fully stock a break room for our staff full time. That started during COVID so that people didn't have to go out and leave. We reduced our hours, which we've kept since.
How did that go for the business? I was going to ask you about that.
Oh, yeah. So when I look back and think about, we used to be open 8 to 7, Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5 on Fridays, and we didn't close for lunch. I don't know how we did that. And we operated on 20-minute appointments. And then when COVID happened, we extended to 30-minute appointments. And then we shifted to 8 to 5 because we didn't want people doing curbside in the dark. And then we started closing for lunch so that everybody could just go outside, get some vitamin D, take a deep breath. And then after COVID, truly operating on those, what I like to say, human physician-based hours, it gives us a higher concentration of staff there throughout the day, which is huge. But with only working, I know how much joy I feel working 8 to 5 and being close for lunch. I can't imagine, ever going back to those more extended hours. I mean, there's so many different ways to look at it. You have more staff there per doctor per hour, which is huge. And I was worried from the financial perspective, seeing less appointments throughout the day, but our schedule's fully booked every day throughout the week. And so we didn't really have a financial deficit because of it. And the mental benefit for the team was immeasurable. So
I remember when we looked at that, you also looked at the number of appointments during that time.
Yeah.
Compared to the staff you had on hand. And you're overstaffed.
Exactly.
No one was really coming between 5 and 7.
No.
Or a few.
Mm-hmm.
So I was
yeah.
I mean, back in the grocery store days, you look at, do we stay open till 11?
Mm-hmm.
No? Because between 10 and 11, no one's shopping here.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Exactly. And it was really challenging. I understand also from a client perspective. Oh, well, I get off work at 5, I can be there by 5:15. And it took probably a good year to a year and a half of, for lack of a better word, training our clients to get on that mentality. But, I was really honest with them. I was like, I get it. My daughter's sick. Her pediatrician's only open till 4. I totally get it. And I understand it's about prioritizing. And I know that that's really hard, and I am sorry. We are here on Saturdays. We do have Saturdays. And fortunately where we are, which I never want to have to be well, there is an urgent care, but it's also about educating and having those conversations. Fluffy's had an ear infection for 2 weeks. Then Fluffy can wait another 12 hours. We can see Fluffy tomorrow morning. And they're like, yeah, you're probably right. So it's, again, over communicating.
Mm-hmm. People can find time.
They can.
They can find time.
They will. And they do.
And it's for the health of your practice, too. For the health of the
is.
staff and everybody to go, hey, we're performing better now because of this. We're happier, healthier.
Yeah.
That's good for your pet. We're going to make better decisions.
Absolutely. And the staff works harder and they perform so much better in their roles when they're not overextended and they're not exhausted. And they know when they get off at 5, they have so much more value in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Earlier, you dropped 32% as a growth rate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it made me think about metrics. You just rattled that off you knew that immediately.
I did.
So do you look at metrics on a frequent basis and to understand the health of the practice?
I try to. Yeah.
So what are you looking at?
I try to look at I really track our new clients, especially where they're coming from. that's a huge thing that I like to look at. I really track our diagnostics very heavily. That's super important for a lot of reasons. Just, that measures the overall health of pets. Plus, a lot of people who decline diagnostics, when their pet is 5, will unfortunately find something, really sinister when their pet is 7. So our staff is really good about educating that. I look at average transactions per appointment. That's a huge one. I watch a lot of different things.
Good.
I know. It's fun.
Yeah, it is. Well, I just, it was interesting to me how you rattled that off.
Well, there's a lot of things that I look at, preventatives. A lot of people don't advocate heavily for preventatives, like heartworm, flea, and tick. We have always been super, that's been a huge important thing for us. And our metrics sit really high for average doses dispensed per pet per year because of how we, gauge that and have those conversations. I also, with COVID, 11.4 million pets were adopted during COVID. So every hospital felt that. Well, as if you look at the metrics for 2024, only 3.4 million pets were adopted in that 1 year. So if you think about, over the process of 18 months, we felt what would equivalent to essentially 3.5 years. Whoa. Mm-hmm. I love looking at numbers. It's the nerdy thing I like to do.
That's
awesome.
Good. Well, I think it's important for you to understand those things and spot issues.
Yeah.
As you can. So, one of the big things that I wanted to ask you about before time gets away from us is how do you navigate accountability? So I think it seems like it's the theme that I've been hearing recently. Mm-hmm. But it's really hey, we built this policy mm-hmm. and this is what we've all said we're going to do. Now, no one's doing it. Yeah. And it happens a lot. And mm-hmm. so in your experience, how do you navigate that? Or what advice would you have for somebody that's having an issue with accountability?
Yeah, I am really open and honest with conversations. For us, when it comes to accountability, we have our conversations probably on a lot more casual level than maybe a lot of practices do. We have a team Snapchat conversation that, yes, it can go super feral and super unhinged at times, which I have to take a step back and take a deep breath. But it's also a great place to be when everyone's being silly, be you guys, how many times do I have to tell you to put alerts on cage cards? Come on. And they'll be yeah, no, you're right. Or I'll get a like emoji. And then if it doesn't happen, then I'll try to pay closer attention to who the specific people are. It's a full-time job keeping people accountable. It is my full-time job trying to keep people accountable. But it's just constantly having conversations and touch bases. And even if it's as simple as shooting a text, hey, I know we've talked about this before. I'm starting to feel a little bit like a broken record here. Can we please be more mindful? And it can be as simple as oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm not good at this. This is not my gift. Okay, well, if, you're really struggling with labeling surgical cards in the morning, what if we got them ready the night before? Oh, that's a great idea. Make it part of a closing duty. Things like that. Because sometimes it's not the people. It could be the process or it could be the protocol. And I'll ask everybody. I'm hey, as a team, we're really struggling with this. What do you guys think we should do? We're getting ready to move from a 3,400 square foot practice to almost 6,200 square foot practice. I'm you guys, we can't just walk room to room and talk to each other anymore. How are we going to, I did a survey. I did an anonymous survey. I said, how are we going to effectively communicate? And yes, some of the answers were totally silly, but everyone's why don't we try walkie-talkies? Why don't we try headsets? That's a great idea. We'll try that. That's awesome. And other people are I'm never going to put a headset in. I do not work at Starbucks. And I'm no, I get that. But, would you be open to trying it? Yeah, I'll try it. Great. Cool. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are doing this on a daily basis. Talk to them. Ask them. I can't make decisions. What I decide is not going to be the same as what you guys decide. So, just always talking to everybody.
You brought up the new practice.
Yeah.
The new location.
New location.
New location. Not new practice, new location. How excited are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I've been in the same building since 2009. Mm-hmm. And, after a while, you're oh, I wish we could change this. Oh, I wish we could change this. Well, I got to.
What led up to the need to do a new building?
Definitely how busy we are. I mean, we are 4 full-time doctors, 4 exam rooms. It's a lot. Yeah, we have a full staff of 19, and we have 26 parking spaces in our parking lot. No, definitely for us to practice the caliber of medicine and provide the experiences that we love to provide, not only for our clients, for our patients, and for our staff, but for our team, it had to happen.
Where you're at, you're landlocked.
We are
Essentially,
so
you have
landlocked.
I mean, you'd have to get creative and expensive to use that, like parking garages and
Yeah.
like all kinds of crazy,
Yeah.
wild ideas.
And we did
right?
explore that as a
Sure.
possible option, the
Yeah.
whole renovation. And
Yeah. Because you got the downstairs. You
we
got,
do have a basement, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a basement. And there's the parking at the end of the day is one of the biggest issues.
It's wild. Yeah, when we explored, renovating the existing practice, you can't take patients down a flight of stairs. We're not going to put in an elevator. And there's no windows down there. So I was like, oh, we're going to put all the offices down there, the call center. I don't want to work where there's no windows.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make anybody else do that. So.
How is this really is preparing for the future? I mean,
Yeah.
making an investment like this, you're thinking about 20 to 30 years at least, maybe 50. So what went into the design of that to accommodate to the way things operate today, the way people want to work today? What's different than what you have now?
Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so big. It's so open. We are going from 4 exam rooms to 8 exam rooms. One of those are cat specific. And then one of them is a designated comfort space for those difficult appointments, end of life appointments. Accommodating things like for our comfort room, having a private entrance, having an exam room, a separate exam room that also has a private entrance for, dogs that don't like other dogs, fractious pets, when owners have to have difficult conversations where their pet gets a sad diagnosis. Being able to expand in our in-house laboratory, in-house pharmacy, we have a designated call center. So our CSRs don't take any calls at the front desk. So having a designated call center that, isn't in a hallway by treatment where they hear barking and, joking all day. We have a specific dental suite, an entire surgery prep area where the patients can get prepped and all of our, surgical supplies exist.
X-ray that has to be moved around.
Huge X-ray room with ultrasound. Just more. Right now we operate with basically 1 treatment table for 4 doctors. And in the new practice, we're going to have 5. So just allowing us to continue practicing the caliber of medicine that we are known for, that we pride ourselves on, while also, with the more space, our staff is going to be so much happier. We are you guys have been to our practice. It's like sardines in there. So being able to spread out and really keep patients separate and everybody can, do what they do best.
What are you going to miss about the current location?
Ooh, let me think. I truthfully, yes, we are packed like sardines, but the closeness, during the day in between appointments, everybody's in the same space, congregating and laughing and telling stories. And I pray none of that gets lost when we move, because that is a huge part of who we are.
You have to practice that management.
I am on it.
You have to practice it.
I know. I'm going to force everyone to come in the treatment for 30 minutes a day and continue to laugh and tell jokes with each other.
Expected opening?
Early September.
That's going to be exciting.
Early September.
Great time to open.
Great time of year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a great time of year, too, because it's not your busiest month.
It's
September.
Not, yeah.
Kids are in school, all those things. I don't think you want to open in your busiest month.
No.
You want to give her a chance to get settled in. You're going to be busy.
We will be very
You're going to be busy when you open. It probably will be your busiest month because everyone's going to want to see it.
Because you just said that.
Yeah, that's because I said I willed it. I willed it into
It'll be
existence.
great.
Yeah.
It'll be really great. I'm
It's
very
close.
excited.
It's a good location. Yeah.
Barely at a mile away from where we're at now. And with the intentional design of what we did, yes, it makes sense for who we are now, but it's designed that in the event we need to add more exam rooms, add larger treatment, we can very easily because of the space and where we are.
Yeah.
Very intentional, very thoughtful.
Got a good contractor?
Oh, the best contractor.
John Hooker?
I cannot wait to write my customer service experience review on them. Yeah. We just had a meeting with them yesterday. They're the best.
Do a great job.
They do.
Great job.
They're very mindful. They care so much about vet med.
They do.
They're very passionate about it.
Yeah, we're always happy to
And
recommend.
that's
John.
huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
It's literally an animal all its own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we've started to ask this.
Yeah.
What is it that we have not talked about today that you want to talk about that you'll be super upset if you go home and you didn't say anything about it, or we didn't discuss it and you're like, darn it, I wish we would have talked about it?
I think everyone who utilizes you guys as a resource in their handbasket of practice management needs to know that practice managers can use you guys as well. I feel like I reach out to you guys all the time. And I think a lot of other hospitals and practice managers don't know that they can do that. They're like, oh, well, they just work with the owner and they just, that's their resource. No. You're a resource for the whole hospital. And I know you have been so helpful in helping with our staff with, even if it's not something you do, someone else in the office can help with. You guys really advocate for the whole practice, not just the owners.
I appreciate that.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. You guys are such a huge asset.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Kale is.
No, you
Some
guys
of
are the
us
best.
No.
So yeah, that's that driving
appreciate
home.
that.
That's that driving home. What should be said? So we love that. Hey,
Yeah.
just for fun, what's one thing your team knows? What's one thing your team doesn't know about you? Surprise the listeners.
Ooh, that's a hard one. We are all way too open with each other.
Oh, okay. Your team knows about it, but it surprised the listeners then.
Ooh. The only thing that will probably anger me, truly anger me, is if I go to our break room and nobody has told me that we are out of Diet Coke. It will set. I'm like, you guys, I have one vice in this world. Who took the last one? Who did it? Who's going to the gas station to get me one? No, I'm just kidding.
I sympathize with some of those addictions. I love going out and doing things early in the morning. I love being outside, but if there's not coffee, I don't want it.
Folgers coffee.
I gotta have my really crappy old Folgers coffee. That's all I want.
That is so funny.
That's it.
Yeah.
Next one. If you had a billboard outside the clinic with a message for pet parents, what would it say?
At the end of the day, we are not here because we want to make money. You know what I mean? We are advocates. We are a support system. We are here to not just take care of your pets. We are here to take care of you. Mm-hmm. We are here to help you. We are here because we value you. Nobody got into vet med to make money. Everyone does it because truly they love animals. I don't know how to get that into people,
Mm-hmm.
That's well said.
Yeah.
Well said. I think that billboard should be out there.
No, yeah. It reminds me of Monsters, Inc. We scare because we care,
Yeah. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Favorite way to unwind after a long day at the clinic?
I love listening to podcasts on my drive home. I love reading and arts and crafts with my daughter. She's super crafty.
Will you listen to this one?
Oh, yeah. Always. Always. It's the perfect length from when I pull out of my driveway to when I pull in my parking spot at work.
Love it.
And baking. Baking is a huge stress relief.
You said your daughter?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's awesome. She's the best.
That's great.
Yes, she is a huge animal lover herself. To the point where we go to the farmer's market every Saturday and every single dog, we can't just be there for an hour. We're there for 2 hours because she stops and pets every single dog and is asking owners, can I hold him? Can I hold him? I'm like, Lily, not every dog is friendly. It's okay. But she's grown up in the hospital. Yeah. So it was fun. I took her to the new build yesterday and she got to write on the walls and draw on the walls and put her handprints everywhere. So that was really special.
That's awesome.
Fun.
That's
Yeah.
great. Well, I tell you what, I'm so happy that you drove down today.
Yeah.
Took time out of your day to come be on the podcast.
Of course.
It's an honor to have you here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so
This has
grateful.
been a lot of fun.
It means a lot to me.
We'll
So thank
we'll
you.
have to do it again, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Maybe we do one at the new building.
Oh,
or
let's do
something.
it.
Let's
That would be
do a live one.
There's
from
lots
the
of
new
natural
building.
light. Beautiful, beautiful space.
Yeah.
Great colors.
It'd be great.
It'd be
great.
perfect.
Yeah. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. If you like the Vetted Podcast, please subscribe to the channel, whether it's through your Spotify, Apple, iTunes, or if it's on YouTube. We appreciate you listening. Till next time, thanks so much.
Peace and blessings.